Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Anime or Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything. If you're unfamiliar, I do Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains coverage on my main channel. Not really my main channel, my other channel I should say, because I consider Dylan from Anime a main channel as well. Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, but because of a copyright issue going on there until Wednesday, until August 2nd, this will be the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Video that I upload over on Dylan from Anime, but it will be me discussing my thoughts on the most recent episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, episode 11, and of course this will be the first time with the new format where I will not be using any images from the show because of the very strict copyright regulations, so I will just be using game footage. I'm not sure what game I'm going to choose, but I'll just use game footage instead. I have like a nice capture card, so it works out. So what did I think of episode 11? I enjoyed episode 11 quite a lot. I think it was another good episode, another really enjoyable episode for what's been a very enjoyable duel. There was a lot that happened in this episode. This was one of those episodes where there was a lot that happened. I think both sets of fans are happy with an episode like this. Like when you have a plot episode, you have people like me who are happy, but then you have people who are really only watching for the card game get annoyed because there was obviously no dueling. But when you have an episode and then when you have an episode that's all dueling and we don't really get any plot or the plot doesn't move, then you have maybe people like me groaning and getting pissy about it. But with an episode like this, I feel like both sets of fans can be equally satisfied. You had some really good movement on the plot. You had some really good info drops. And on the other side of it, you had mouth-watering dueling action, some incredible plays between Revolver and Playmaker. So we start with Ignace, who just got destroyed by the fire prison effect. He just got terminated, basically, in this very weird, almost like the afterlife. That's the vibe that I got from it, because I found his dialogue to be very interesting. He says something like, what happens if I go to sleep? And I feel like if there weren't dire consequences to falling asleep, he wouldn't have said a line like that. So I wonder if this is a situation where he's like on the verge of actual death, and if he closes his eye and he falls asleep, no pun intended, he closes his eye, if he falls asleep, he actually dies. I don't know if that's what's going on here, but the whole situation seemed kind of weird, especially because you figure Encode Talker and Decode Talker would be with him because they all got teleported away, but they're not. And maybe that's because they were part of the duel, or it could be because they don't have free will. We learn that Ignace, according to Revolver, we learn a little bit more about Revolver and the Knight's motivations for why they want to capture Ignace, for why they want to destroy Ignace and destroy the Cyberse, is that Ignace has free will. And this is basically a reality nightmare that, you know, how influential people like Siri, robots like Siri, I don't know if Siri's really influential, but you have Watson, that guy from IBM who, like, knows everything, no one can beat him in Jeopardy or something like that. You can see the technological advancements in reality. I'm talking about in the real world, not in VRains right now, where robots eventually, as some people say, are going to take over everything. Where they're just going to take over everything, and then eventually they're going to, like, you know, take over the world, and they're going to be the end of society as we know it, as some people have said. I mean, I don't know about that, but that's basically what Ignace is. He's a robot with free will, and right now, think about the robots. Like, Siri doesn't have free will. Watson, that guy who can answer all the questions, he doesn't have free will. I'm just trying to use examples as in the real world to show where Revolver's coming from, because I understand where he's coming from, and I'd be pretty terrified, too, of the thought of a robot who knows everything, who can do almost anything, having free will and having that power to do whatever they want. It is a scary thought. So from that perspective, I understand why Revolver is being the way he is in wanting to destroy Ignace and wanting to destroy the Cyberse, because according to him, Ignace created the Cyberse and he's trying to overtake everything in the world. I believe that's what Revolver was kind of hinting at. And so by overtaking everything in the world, then he'll be like the supreme ruler or something like that. I don't know if that was the degree of what Revolver was hinting at. That's kind of the vibe that I got from the conversation. That conversation was a little over my head upon the first time watching. I usually watch these episodes a couple times before doing a review, and I haven't watched the episode for a couple days now, but that conversation was all about, like, God and the beings and you know, the very origins of the world, so a little over my head, but still a very interesting dialogue there, probably the most interesting plot movement we had. Also, Emma gets into the data storm thanks to Kusanagi. There was a little maybe hint that they might have an interaction down the road, that they might become friends, because I think Emma says she wants to talk to the person who got her into this system about the situation. So maybe that's a hint right there that Emma will join Playmaker's team if he forms a team or something like that, getting the vibes that maybe he's going to form a team to take on Soltech, but I don't really know if that's going to happen right now. I think it's a little too early to say, even though I know I'm the king of overanalyzing early plot movements, but if that's the case and they have 2 hackers on the team, that would be awesome. Then it speaks to the volume of, do you really trust Emma? Because we know she's in the pocket of Soltech, and that could lead to some very interesting developments. So that's just something to keep an eye on. I got kind of a vibe that Emma and Kusanagi might become friends, and maybe we'll discuss their hacking prowesses down the road. But thanks to her getting into the storm, she's able to film and broadcast the duel to Kusanagi and to Akira. The dueling action was magnificent. Revolver summons VRains Dragon, his true ace monster, and this is the first direct attack that actually felt like a direct attack. We see the beam hit Yusaku, throw him back. We actually see the beam even leave the tornado. And before this beam of light lands, Revolver puts on like shades. He has it. I mean, that was just an awesome, awesome moment. That, and we finally see Firewall Dragon. That summoning was awesome. The music they used during Yusaku's turn was incredible. Like that crazy piano theme. I love that theme, and I don't think they've used it since episode 1 when Yusaku was dueling the knights and when he saved Blue Angel from the knight that was burning everything to a crisp. So I'm glad they used that theme again. Can't wait for the actual OST to come out. But the plays were crazy. So Revolver gets Yusaku down to 600 life points. Yusaku takes his turn. He summons Firewall. Because he gets rid of Decode and Encode, the 2 Cyburst monsters that were on the field when Firewall Prison activated its like big effect to destroy everything or get rid of all the Cybursts, Firewall Prison was destroyed. We see Kogami watching from the lab make a comment that, oh, well, he beat through my plan. So this was Dr. Kogami's strategy. This wasn't even really Revolver's strategy. According to that, maybe it was like a hybrid strategy, but I thought that line of dialogue was interesting, that Kogami... And I guess Kogami made the card, so it makes sense for him to say my plan rather than our plan or something like that. So Firewall Dragon destroys that big defensive dragon. I forget the name of it. The names were so confusing in this episode. That was probably the only thing that really annoyed me. You have Varets, you have rockets, you have bullets, but they're all the same. I don't even know what's going on there. I don't know if that's the TCG changing the name, and because this is, English, Crunchyroll is just following what the TCG is telling them. I really have no idea. I thought these monsters all should have been Vullet, just that's what we knew his archetype was. Instead, they're Varets, they're rockets, but I guess they're all the same thing, so it is what it is. But Revolver takes his turn after Yusaku has summoned Firewall, and this is what I mean, the plays were amazing. Revolver ends up drawing 4 cards after his draw phase. He gets Firewall Dragon to his field, because when VRains attacks, it takes one of the opponent's monsters. So he gets Firewall onto the field, and he's like, the classic Yu-Gi-Oh trope, I'm going to kill you with your own monster. So Firewall Dragon goes to attack Playmaker to finish him off. This is the situation Playmaker's in. So I just told you about Revolver drawing 4 cards outside his draw phase. Great play there. Playmaker's in a situation where he's about to receive 3,000 or 2,500 points of damage. He has, I think, 1 face-down card in his field, maybe 2. His turn ends... Before his turn starts, actually, Revolver's turn ends with Yusaku filling his field with Firewall Dragon and Encode Talker. And that's the turnaround. So, like, every time I feel like one of these duelists has a clear advantage, they have a crazy turnaround. And then, right after Playmaker does that, Revolver summons 2 more rocket monsters on his field because of the effects. You literally can't get rid of his monsters, pretty much. They just keep resummoning new monsters. I mean, that is a very annoying archetype to play against because you just keep filling the field. It's a very versatile archetype, and so just a really, really good episode dueling-wise, a really good episode plot-wise. Another interesting dynamic here is we see Yusaku as a young kid. I don't know why he's in a room like this, but he's in like a plain white room, and he's got VR reality goggles on, and it looks like he's down for the count. And someone tells him to count to 3. So this is why he counts to 3. It's just what he's been taught to do by this person that gave him courage. A lot of people are probably assuming that the person might be Revolver that gave him courage. I hope it's not, but I could see it being Revolver. Here's why I hope it's not. They're going to have to introduce new characters soon. They're going to have to. The cast list is just way too small right now for a long show, and after this duel, you figure they're going to introduce new characters. This would have been a perfect way to introduce a new character into the show without needing to really build him up much. Like, we know if they introduce a new character that gave Yusaku courage, all right, here's the kid that gave Yusaku courage. We don't need to build him up. The counter argument to that, though, is Yusaku wants to destroy the Knights of Fenoi. He hates Revolver. But what kind of emotional conundrum is he going to be in if Revolver was the one who gave him courage 10 years ago? That will be a very interesting dynamic. So either way they go with it, I'm actually okay. Either way they do it. I'm excited to see how they execute it. But guys, I'm also excited to talk to you down below. Let me know all your thoughts on the most recent episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, episode 11. I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. I hope you have an amazing day. The next review will be back on Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the support.